Hello and welcome back to our Lord of the Rings LCG solo progression series, and today's quest is to catch an orc, which is the second scenario in the Voice of Isengard Deluxe expansion. A quick reminder, in this series we're playing through each quest in chronological order of the game's initial release, and we'll only be using player cards that were available at the time of this quest's release. I'm calling this deck In Search of Orc, because of, well, in the last scenario we rescued Grima at the Fords of Ice, and now he has escorted us to Orthanc, where we're going to meet with Saruman. And at this point we think that Saruman is a friend and an ally, and he requests our help in finding and capturing this marauding orc named Mugash. He wants us to capture Mugash alive and bring him back to Isengard for what we think are altruistic good purposes, but we don't realize the treachery. We are unwittingly going to help Saruman to begin building his army of Uruk-hai. So I really like how this make-believe story, it's all make-believe, isn't it? But this isn't canon, but it's really connected to the canon parts of the story. And that's one thing I love about Lord of the Rings LCG. It feels so grounded in the lore. So To Catch an Orc is definitely the most difficult quest by a long shot in the Voice of Isengard. The other two are very easy, I would say. And actually, I think that To Catch an Orc is one of the hardest non-nightmare quests for solo so far in the progression. It can take a little while to get through as well, so I won't say too much more. There is a effect at the beginning where we're going to remove 20 cards from our deck, and we can access them later, but out of the gate you don't have all the cards in your hand that you would like. And so let's just say we really want Light of Valinor. All 3 copies might be in that 20 cards that is removed, and so there's a little bit of inconsistency there, so you have to build a deck with that in mind, and it takes a very specific way of deck building. So nothing about this hero lineup looks very original, Beravor, Eowyn, and Glorfindel, but this deck is very much tuned to this quest, and it's more nuanced than it appears in my mind. I feel like it plays really interestingly. Well, let's get to the quest and see how we do. Generally, when I have Light of Valinor, I do not mulligan, so I'll just keep this opening hand. And we will look here at orders from Orthanc. Saruman has tasked you with a dangerous mission. Journey up the Misty Mountains' southern peak in search of the orc Mugash and capture him alive. And then there's a lot of setup text. And I'll talk us through all that. I'll just translate all this. It's a good reminder what's about to happen. It's just a good reminder that you always want to draw your opening hand and then mulligan before setup, because there's an effect that's about to remove cards from our deck. So it says each player removes the top 20 cards of his deck and places them aside as an out-of-play deck. And if I remember correctly, it's called the Mugash deck, but let's just talk for a minute about 4-player. So all 4 players takes the top 20 cards. In fact, in my deck, I have 56 cards in this deck. It's a little strange. So 6 cards in my opening hand and 50 here. So all 4 players remove 20 cards and place it just off to the side as a deck that they will access as the game progresses, but that is a set-aside deck that you do not draw from. And then there are these 4 orcs, these more difficult ones, which one of them, of course, is the unique Mugash, which we want to capture. And so there's Mugash, and then there's Mugash's guards, 3 copies of those. So they all have player backs, the ring backs, and so you'll shuffle these at the beginning after everybody's set aside their 20 cards. You shuffle this, and so you don't know which one is Mugash, and you take 1 per stack and shuffle it into that stack. So if we're playing 4-player, there's those 20 cards, and 1 random sort of boss orc is shuffled into each deck. And so one of those decks has Mugash, but we don't know which one. And so multiplayer definitely creates more of a hide-and-seek effect. In solo, we know that Mugosh will be in our deck, because we will not. There's not another deck to shuffle these Mugosh guards into, so it takes away a little bit of that, like again, hide and seek effect. So what Dragon Cards has done for us that I really like is here under Special Functions, we just click on to Catch an Orc Setup, and it's going to do this for us. It's going to remove 20 cards from the top of my deck and shuffle in Mugosh. And so you'll see Mugosh disappear and 20 cards disappear. So it's sort of a magic trick. So here we're down to 30 and Mugosh is gone. And where that went is here under Player 1. You can see there's 21 cards. The 20 that were pulled out of our deck plus Mugosh. And so we don't know where Mugosh is in this deck. We're going to search eventually and try to find him, but I've had playthroughs where he was the last card, so we just do not know. That's it for 1A. 1B, Mugosh and his orcs have been raiding the surrounding countryside from their hidden lair in Methedros and carrying loot and captives back into the mountains. It's time to put an end to this menace. When revealed, each player searches the encounter deck for a mountain location and adds it to the staging area. Shuffle the encounter deck and advance to stage 2. So let's look at our options here. It has to be a mountain type location. A little bit of a bummer, because this is the one I wish that I could put in staging, but it's highlands. It doesn't say mountains. These do, all the other ones. So what we're going to choose is one of this. It's not a unique location. It's Methedros. There's 4 of them. So we will put that in staging. It has a effect that when this is the active location, each location in the staging area gets +1 threat. When this leaves play as an explored location, we will have to conduct a search through our set-aside deck for Mugosh. We'd look at the top 3 cards, basically. We'll see how that works when that happens. Okay, so we advance to stage 2. And we are now searching for Mugosh. Orcs prowl the mountainside on the lookout for intruders. A single horn call from one of the sentries would have every orc in Methedros scurrying out of their holes to fight you. You must move carefully to avoid detection while you search for their captain. So we have 2 time counters on this quest. And a quick reminder that at the end of every refresh phase, this is when you remove a time counter. And once you get down to 0, there's a forced effect that fires. Let's put the time counters back on. Forced, after the last time counter is removed from this stage, shuffle the discard pile, the encounter discard pile, into the encounter deck and reveal 2 encounter cards per player. That's crazy, 2 cards. And there's some surge in this quest, and so we do not want that to ever happen. Obviously, if that ever does, you go back to having 2 time counters. So every 2 rounds this is going to happen. There's no way to win, right? This is where the response comes in. After questing successfully, cancel all progress that would be placed on this stage. Now, you wouldn't cancel any progress placed on active location, but you can't put progress on searching for Mugosh. Instead, you place 1 time counter on searching for Mugosh. So you go from 2 to 3. And then it says if Mugosh is in play, advance to stage 3. We'll talk about that in a minute. Right now he's not in play. But so what you want to do is you want to quest successfully each round, put in a time counter on searching for Mugosh, and then during the refresh phase you remove 1, quest successfully, remove 1. And so you're really kind of treading water at 2. That's the plan. Resource phase. And remember, we have 20 cards that are out of play that might contain like all 3 copies or all of our threat reduction or something like that. There can be some things, or test of will even. If you don't have test of will, you can struggle. So here's Bearvor. Exhaust Bearvor to choose a player. That player draws 2 cards. For sure, we want to put out Light of Valinor. And usually I'll quest for 7. There have been times where Surge gets me in trouble, so I'm going to go ahead and attach Protector of Lorien to Glorfindel. This will just assure me that we won't be unsuccessful in the quest anytime soon. With our last resource here. Let's go ahead and put out Sylvan Refugee. It could be a bummer if we get a particular treachery. It's worse than Necromancer's Reach. There's 3 of them. Take cover, which surges each either deal 1 damage to each exhausted character or remove 1 time counter from the current quest. And so that can be a real problem, but it's cheap enough. We're not too worried if we do lose Sylvan Refugee. So let's quest, and we just want to quest successfully. We reveal Orc Cave. This is where I wish that I had a Thrower's Key, because I could blank this out and not have to worry about the travel effect or the forced effect. But as it is, we quested successfully. And so when we do, we actually cancel any progress that would be placed on this stage, and we place a time counter on searching for Mugash. So it's up to 3. During the travel phase, I don't want to travel anywhere because I don't want this travel effect for sure. And I don't want to clear these and be searching for Mugash anytime soon. So let's refresh, and we remove a time counter, and next round. Let's exhaust Bearvor to draw 2 cards. And we'll spend 2 resources, spirit resources, to play Envoy of Pelargir. And response: after Envoy of Pelargir enters play, add 1 resource to a Gondor or Noble Heroes resource pool. We'll put it on Glorfindel. And we'll quest. And as you can see, it's getting harder since you have to leave these locations in staging. Getting a little tougher to quest successfully. Okay, we reveal Broken Lands. And so we did quest successfully. And that means we just put a time counter on searching for Mugash. During travel, we can travel here because there's no search effect related to it. And while Broken Lands is in the staging area, progress cannot be placed on locations in the staging area. That definitely affects Asphaloth, but for now we'll just make this the active location and refresh, and at the end of the refresh phase we remove a time counter. Next round. All right, very glad to see Test of Will. And we'll go ahead and put Asphaloth out, attach that to Glorfindel. It can be attached to a Noldor or Sylvan hero. Okay, I have 3 resources left, but I don't want to play Ithir Swordsman. I wouldn't want to lose Ithir Swordsman. I don't mind if I lose Sylvan Refugee to take cover, but I don't want to lose Ithir Swordsman. So let's quest. And we're leaving Envoy of Pelargir ready because there is there's a enemy that when it engages us, it forces us to exhaust a character, and so she could satisfy that, and that's kind of the idea. So we reveal Broken Lands, another copy of Broken Lands, and so we have just done staging. Let's go ahead and during the action window before quest resolution, let's exhaust Asphaloth to put 2 progress on Broken Lands. This one is in staging, and so progress cannot be placed on locations in the staging area, but this is the active location. And then let's play Elrond's Council to lower our threat by 3 and boost our willpower. And so we just need to make 1 more bit of progress to clear Broken Lands. And so let's discard Faramir. And when we do, we boost Eowyn. We're using her action. We could do the same thing with Protector of Lorien, but we just used Eowyn's. So we have made 4 progress. We've quested successfully. And so that leaves play. And of course, a time counter was placed on searching for Mugash because we quested successfully. Now we'll travel here. So it's all about keeping things from piling up on you in the staging area. All right, refresh. Remove a time counter. Next round. All right, very glad to see Thor's Key. Bearvor draws us 2 cards. Glad to see Beorn. We definitely want to go ahead and play Thor's Key and attach that to just any of our heroes. We've attached it to Glorfindel. Let's attach it to Barivor. I don't want to play Ithir Swordsman yet. Let's quest. And we reveal Mugash's lair. And so that's staging, and there's an action window, and we'll just go ahead and exhaust Asphaloth. Take this action, exhaust Asphaloth to place 1 progress token on any location, 2 tokens instead if attached hero is Glorfindel. And that's why it's so important to get Broken Lands out of staging. Remember, it was in staging, and we made sure that we made the progress to clear the active location so we could travel here. So now we can put 2 progress on Mugash's lair. And that's good for us because of the forced effect. At the beginning of the encounter phase, reveal the top card of each player's out-of-play deck, the one that has Mugash in it. You would add each revealed enemy to the staging area. Pretty recently, as I was preparing for this recording, one of my playthroughs, this came out early on. It became I made it the active location because I couldn't clear it. I didn't have Asphaloth yet. And the first card of my deck was Mugash, and he just destroyed me. So we're glad to see that leave. We made 4 progress, but we want to probably, I guess it's not necessary to, well, let's discard a couple of cards. We'll discard Beorn with Eowyn's action. That boosts her. And then we'll do something kind of fun. Let's play Stand and Fight. Choose an ally with a printed cost of X in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we are going to bring Faramir into play. And, we're still in this action window after staging. All this has taken place during that action window. We'll exhaust Faramir to boost each character controlled by this player by +1 willpower until the end of the phase. So that's going to be 1, 2, and 3, which is 8 progress. And so we cleared Broken Lands. We quested successfully, placing a time counter on the searching for Mugash. And we will refresh and remove a time counter at the end of the refresh phase next round. We haven't seen any enemies. It's crazy. There's a lot of enemies in this deck. Drawing 2 cards. I can put out Amphalos Herdsman, and I probably should. Let's go ahead and do that. Mostly just to satisfy that effect where if an enemy engages us, I think it's the warg. When it engages us, we have to exhaust a character we control. So I'm not going to actually quest with Amphalos Herdsman. I could put out Ithir Swordsman, but I want to hang on to Test of Will. So not ready to do that, but I'll just put out Amphalos Herdsman for that purpose of possibly exhausting. Let's quest. We'll leave Envoy and Faramir ready, as well as Amphalos Herdsman. We reveal Take Cover. That's why I didn't want to quest with Amphalos Herdsman. This is going to surge. When revealed, either deal 1 damage to each exhausted character or remove 1 time counter from the current quest. So this is where we'll remove a time counter. I can do it once. And so I'll just spare Eowyn and Barivor and, possibly even save my Sylvan Refugee. Another one could come out, but we just took a time counter off of searching for Mugash. And the card revealed was Methedros Orc, which has a force effect when it attacks. The defending player shuffles 1 random card from his hand into his out-of-play deck. Okay, so makes it a little harder to find Mugash. We were successful even if we didn't exhaust Faramir. So we place a time counter on searching for Mugash. I wish that there are 3 copies in my deck, hopefully they're in here, of Ranger Spikes, but I just haven't seen one yet. We'll go ahead and exhaust Asphaloth and put 2 progress on Methedros, but we're not traveling here yet. We're not ready to search. We're definitely not engaging Methedros Orc, and our threat is at 25, so we're not too worried about that. Refresh, remove a time counter at the end of refresh phase next round. All right, I have all 3 Thor's keys. A little bit of an overkill there. Drawing cards with Bearvor. And we'll go ahead and put out a second Amphalos Herdsman. I'll just move these guys down here. So they have, they're boosted for 1 hit point per. Each Outland's character you control gets +1 hit point, so each one is worth 3 at this point. With that in mind, let's go ahead and put out Aether Swordsman. So he will boost all Outland's characters by 1 willpower. And of course, now we're not worried about that this card coming out as much. If we lose Sylvan Refugee, it doesn't matter too much. We will simply quest. And reveal. Orc Hunter, when revealed, either reveal an additional encounter card or remove 1 time counter from the current quest. We will not remove a time counter from the current quest. We'd be down to 0 and we'd have to do the forced effect. So that means we just reveal another card, and it's going to be Broken Lands, and even without Faramir, we were successful. So we place a progress on, not a progress, a time counter on searching for Mugash. We'll travel to Broken Lands, and we can get rid of Orc Hunter. It attacks for 3, and Faramir could defend, and we could attack back. Let's do that. So Orc Hunter will attack. We optionally engaged Orc Hunter, and so he attacks for 3. We'll defend for 2 with Faramir. If this attack destroys a character, remove 1 time counter from the current quest. So 3 against 2 means 1 damage on Faramir. And we attack for 3 and 4 and destroy Orc Hunter. And we'll exhaust Asphaloth to put 2 progress on Orc Cave. Refresh, remove a time counter next round. So unfortunately, no Ranger Spikes. The way this deck works, really, Ranger Spikes is the location version of Thor's Key is the location version of Ranger Spikes. So these, I'd say Ranger Spikes and Thor's Key are huge defensive cards that we need in this deck. Here in a minute, we'll bring Beorn into play, but no rush. We will quest. I don't really feel like I need, well, let's quest with Sylvan Refugee. Do I need to? Maybe. So if the take cover comes out, we lose it. This becomes really our chump. Early on, you really benefit from having Sylvan Refugee, but eventually, you just want to chump with Sylvan Refugee. Let's quest with Sylvan Refugee. We reveal Orc Hunting Party. When revealed, deal each Orc enemy in play a shadow card. Each Orc enemy gets -15 engagement cost. That means that Methedros Orc would be at 15 if they're until the end of the round. So if there are no Orc enemies in the staging area, Orc Hunting Party gains Surge. So this would be a shadow card dealt to Methedros Orc, and then it would engage us because its engagement cost would be 15. And then it would get another shadow card. It's attacking for 5. We can't really do anything about that. So this is a good time to play Test of Will and cancel that. And we'll just discard Beorn to boost Eowyn. And so we made 6 progress and cleared Broken Lands. And I don't want to search yet. I'm not ready to look for Mugash. refresh. We put a time counter because we were successful, and we take it away at the end of the refresh phase next round. Bearvor drawing us 2 cards. Still no Ranger Spikes. But I haven't seen a whole lot of enemies, so I'm kind of not too worried about it. The only enemies with... There's an enemy with an engagement of 28, but we wouldn't mind it engaging us. And then Methedros Orc is the next lowest engagement cost. So we want to be careful just to keep our threat from getting up to 30. What's in our discard pile? Just considering Dwarven Tomb and what I would want to do. Let's grab that Test of Will with Dwarven Tomb. There's not a more important card, really. Maybe Elrond's Council. But you can have a sort of a daisy chain of 2 encounters that you want to cancel. Let's go ahead and spend a resource from Glorfindel's pool to put out a Song of Travel. We'll attach that to Bearvor. Okay, we're questing here. And I'm going to leave Sylvan Refugee ready. And we reveal Take Cover, which surges when revealed either deal 1 damage to each exhausted character or remove 1 time counter from the current quest. So we'll just deal the damage to each exhausted character, which means that we still have 2 health on all of our Outlands allies. That's why Amphalos Herdsman is so important. But that surges into a Prowling Wolf, which is the enemy I referred to that that could engage us this round. And just to make the necessary progress to be successful in the quest, we'll discard Asphaloth to boost Eowyn. Remember, we have Protector of Lorien. We can discard cards to that, but it's basically the same thing as Eowyn's effect. But we were successful, and so we place a progress or a time counter on searching for Mugash. If I want, I can go ahead and play Galadrim's Greeting and leave this Prowling Wolf in staging. I think I'll do that. Alternately, I could just go ahead and bring Beorn into play. I have enough resources. But then I don't have any lore, which is, if I got a Ranger Spikes, I would wish that I had saved some resources on Bearvor. So let's go ahead and play Galadrim's Greeting and lower our threat by 6. Usually doing that once is enough. You don't really have to do a whole lot more with the way this deck works. And I'll just leave Prowling Wolf there for now. I mean, I could chump with Sylvan Refugee. I'll just leave it there for now. So we'll refresh. It just stays in staging because our threat's underneath this engagement. At the end of the refresh, we remove a time counter. Next round. There's Ranger Spikes. Let's go ahead and put it out. And honestly, so Thoros Key is going to be sort of useless. I really want to search here in a minute. So I have 3 Thoros Keys, but I just didn't get to demonstrate how useful it is. But just imagine if you played through and you got nothing but Methedros and Orc Cave and all these locations, and you got location lock because you don't want to travel and potentially have to do all these effects and search for Mugash. And so Thoros Key is our way to nullify all these effects, travel, clear it. So it just keeps you from getting location locked. And then Ranger Spikes helps with just the enemies like Methedros Orc or even Prowling Wolf early on in particular when you're not ready. These are really nice defensive cards. Let's draw 2 cards with Barivore. All right, Amphalos Herdsman. Let's go ahead and put out our third Amphalos Herdsman. So each Outland's ally is going to be boosted by +3 health, so we're not at all worried about take cover, except for Aowen and even Barivore maybe, but Aowen's the only thing we're worried about now with take cover. And I do want to save my resources because until I get Beorn into play, I don't want to really advance. So let's quest. I'm going to leave Sylvan Refugee ready. And we reveal Orc Cave. If I wanted to, I could put Thor's Key out and attach it to Orc Cave. But we're really fine because I think I'm about to get rid of this threat momentarily. Any enemy that comes out would just be ensnared by Ranger Spikes. So I like this Search 5. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and exhaust Faramir to boost for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's just kind of hard at this point to not quest successfully. So we place a time counter on searching for Mugash. I'll exhaust Asphaloth to put 2 progress on Orc Cave, but I don't want to clear it yet. And there's only a negative experience if we travel here. I could go ahead and deal with Prowling Wolf. I think I might just want to get that threat out of staging. I could jump with Sylvan Refugee. Nah, I'll just leave him there for now. Refresh, remove a time counter next round. So, definitely a turtling kind of a deck. Drawing our last 2 cards with Barivore. Good. Elrond's Council just helps us lower our threat a good bit. And another Ithir Swordsman. Let's go ahead and put out Ithir Swordsman. So a lot more willpower now. Each Outlands character you control gets +1 willpower. So now we're questing for quite a bit with just these Outlands characters. And we'll quest with Aowen. And reveal Orc Skirmisher. I knew there were orcs in this deck. They're all in here. So it's going to be ensnared by Ranger Spikes. And it won't bother us the rest of the game. Just only 1 threat being contributed. If it were to engage us, we'd have to deal 3 damage to a character that we control or remove a time counter. We were successful and placed a time counter on searching for Mugash. I don't want to move on until next round because I do want to get Barivore into play. And so is this when we want to deal with Prowling Wolf? I guess so. Let's go ahead and get Prowling Wolf taken care of. So while engaged with Prowling Wolf, we just optionally engaged him during engagement checks or during the encounter phase. He's going to get a shadow card. While engaged with a player, Prowling Wolf gets +1 attack for each location in the staging area, so it's attacking for 4. And we'll just jump with Sylvan Refugee. Okay, good to see take cover gone, so Sylvan Refugee leaves play, and we attack for 3 and 4 and destroy Prowling Wolf. Refresh and remove the time counter next round. This might be the round we advance. Can't draw any more cards. What do I have in my discard? Just Beorn, who I want to play using stand and fight. And I can do that this round. Let's go ahead and just quest here. And we will reveal Orc Hound, which is going to surge into another Prowling Wolf. So even without Faramir, we were successful. A time counter is placed on searching for Mugash. During the travel phase, we're not going to travel anywhere. During the encounter phase, during the engagement checks, we will have to deal with, well, let's just deal with Orc Hound. So, force, after Orc Hound engages a player, that player must exhaust a character he controls. We'll exhaust Faramir. So he's attacking for 2. We'll defend with Barivor, 2 against 2. And so Barivor blocks that. And we attack and destroy Orc Hound. And of course, during the player attacks, once you deal damage, there is that final action window. This is where we will go ahead and do a couple of things. We'll do a couple of actions. Let's exhaust Asphaloth to put 2 progress on Orc Cave. And so that means it's explored. And this is during that action window right here at the end of combat, after applying the damage. So force, after Orc Cave leaves play as an explored location, the first player searches 5. And what that means is we go to that set-aside deck that has Mugash in it, and we look at the top 5. We get to choose 1 card to draw into our hand, and the others are all discarded. If any of these cards were Mugash, he'd be added to the staging area. The best card to grab into our hand would be, I guess, Westfold Horsebreaker. And so we discard the other cards into our discard pile, but no Mugash. And then we will go ahead and play Stand and Fight. Action, choose an ally with a printed cost. Do I want to do Stand and Fight yet? There's no reason to. I can wait around. So we'll refresh, remove a time counter. Next round, this is definitely where we'll bring Beorn in. And if Mugash had come out, I would have brought Beorn in, but I'll wait just 1 extra round. Okay, so I like to put in a Sylvan Refugee for chumping purposes. Just a cheap chump. Okay, so we'll quest. I'm going to leave just 1 Aether Swordsman ready. And we will reveal an Orc Skirmisher. And we made 1 progress even without, we were successful even without exhausting Faramir. So a time counter is placed on searching for Mugash. And now we'll skip the travel phase. We won't travel anywhere. We will skip engagement phase. Well, our threat's underneath all these enemies. Well, let's get rid of Prowling Wolf. We'll optionally engage Prowling Wolf, and it's going to attack for 3. And we'll just jump with Sylvan Refugee. Actually, rather than doing that, I do have, let's just jump with Sylvan Refugee. I could have defended with Glorfindel and used Protector of Lorien, but so he's attacking for a total of 3, and there's no shadow. Sylvan Refugee leaves play. We'll attack and destroy Prowling Wolf. And just like last round, we will exhaust Asphaloth to put 2 progress on Orc Cave. When it leaves play, we search 5. So let's look at that deck. The player 1 set aside deck. We'll look at the top 5 cards. We're looking for Mugash. And there he is. He's added to the staging area. We get to pick a card. Let's pick the Ranger Spikes. We'll discard the others. And this is during combat, after the attack of that engaged enemy. And during this action window, we are going to go ahead and play Stand and Fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We just played 6 spirit resources. Remember, we have Song of Travel. So 6 spirit resources means we can play Beorn from the discard pile. And we're going to go ahead and play a Will of the West action. Choose a player, shuffle that player's discard pile into his hand, remove Will of the West from the game. So all these, not into our hand, but into, what does it say? Into his deck. So we get to, in fact, we'll use Beorn's action to draw 2 cards. And I meant to, let's say that we played before doing all that, we lowered our threat. And so this is shuffled back into our deck. It was in our discard pile. It's just stupid not to recycle that. All right, so we refresh. And then what I like to do is, really use Asphaloth to do these search effects, because now Mugash can't engage us until next round. So it's better to be ready for Mugash. So refresh, remove a time counter, and next round. We'll draw 2 cards with Beorn. And we'll put out a Ranger Spikes. And we'll put out a we'll put out a Westfold Horsebreaker or Breeder. Response: after Westfold Horse Breeder enters play, search the top 10 cards of your deck for a mount attachment and add it to your hand. And the advantage of playing her is we can grab an Asphaloth, just gets us some more card draw. And then we shuffle our deck. Because Asphaloth is a mount card. All right, we need to advance here. Let's go ahead and do it. You see, to attack Mugash, which I'm about to do in a minute, we need to attack for 12. So I could do 5 plus 3 is 8. 11, 12. I'll leave my Aether Swordsman ready. Yeah, let's do that. And we reveal Methedros, which at this point, again, Thor's Key is not really showing its usefulness, but I don't really I want to search, because searching is not going to hurt us. In fact, this is revealed during staging. During the action window, we'll just use Asphaloth's action to search 3. This leaves play, and we search 3. And we'll draw into our hand this Sylvan Refugee. The other cards are discarded. And we were successful, so a time counter was placed. Well, we're not successful yet. That was the action window before quest resolution. So let's see. We're not successful either. We're at 0. Let's play Elrond's Council. So now we're successful without even discarding any cards from hand. And it says, response: after questing successfully, cancel all progress that would be placed on this stage. Then place 1 time counter on this stage. And now this text comes into play. Or, so instead of doing that, or if Mugash is in play, advance to stage 3. So we had to quest successfully. You don't advance once Mugash is in play. You have to quest successfully, and Mugash has to be in play. So kind of interesting there. But we advance to stage 3. Final stage, the Wizard's Prize. You've found Mugash, but the orc captain won't be taken without a fight. He howls and rages against you with the ferocity of a cornered animal. All the commotion is sure to draw more orcs to the fray. Yet you must subdue the huge Uruk before you can retreat down the mountain. Time 3. So we have 3 time counters. The force effect says after the last time counter is removed from the stage, return Mugash to the staging area and reveal X encounter cards. X is the number of players in the game minus 1, so that would be 0. So what does that mean, return Mugash? Well, it says progress cannot be placed on the stage unless Mugash is attached to a hero. What does that mean? We'll see in a minute. If we defeat the stage, we win the game. During the travel phase, we'll just go ahead and travel to Methedros. Does that make sense to do that? So 2 is less than 3. So leaving this in staging is better in that way. And then this becomes 3, and it boosts. Yeah, it just makes sense to leave Methedros in staging. Okay, during the encounter phase, here comes Mugash. It says you cannot have attachments, and so Ranger Spikes won't help you. So here he comes, and it says forced after Mugash is defeated. So we have to defeat him. He's just about to attack us, and we're going to chump with this Westfold Horse Breeder. So he's attacking for 7, and there's no shadow effect. So she leaves play. And now we need to attack and defeat Mugash. We need 8 damage. Can we do it without using Beorn's action? I don't think so. 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we have to use Beorn's action. Beorn gets +5 attack until the end of the phase. At the end of the phase in which you trigger this effect, shuffle Beorn back into your deck. So he's going to get +5. And now we attack for 3 and 4 and 8. That's 12. That's enough right there. We were able to destroy Mugash. After he's defeated, let's see, we'll discard the shadow. After Mugash is defeated, the first player attaches him to a hero he controls and exhausts that hero. This will count as a captive attachment with the text, attached hero cannot ready. If attached hero leaves play, the players lose the game. Let's attach it to Barivor, and she cannot ready, so prevent refresh. And so now, because we control Mugash, she's really wrestling and trying to keep him subdued. Because we control Mugash, next round we can actually place progress on the Wizard's Prize. So we will refresh, except for Barivor, she cannot ready while Mugash is attached to her. We remove a time counter. Oh yeah, and Beorn was shuffled at the end of the combat phase into our deck. So we lost Beorn. Next round. So no more drawing cards with Barivor. But we should make enough progress to win right here. Let's try to ensure that we do. We'll play 2 Sylvan Refugees. What's in our discard pile? I might need to play 2 Tests of Wills. Yeah, we'll play Sylvan Refugee. And we're going to go all out. We're going to quest for quite a bit here, including Envoy of Pelargir. And we reveal Mugash's lair. We got stage in here. So 2 progress placed on Mugash's lair, that leaves play. And so we just won the game here, but let's just see how much willpower we can get. We can go ahead during the action window here and use this quest action to bring Beaufort into play. Quest action, spend 1 spirit resource to put Beaufort into play from your hand, exhausted and committed to the quest. And so that just helps us a little bit. And we will play a Dwarven Tomb to grab a Elrond's Council out of our discard pile and play it. And now we can discard 3 cards, and actually 3 for Protector of Lorien and 1 for Eowyn. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to boost for 4. And we exhaust Faramir to boost for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What in the world? I thought that was a... How did I manage that? I thought that I had played a Sylvan Refugee, so I have an extra resource. So that was crazy. So again, Faramir is going to boost for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're at 43. Is that right? Sorry for the delay here. That was from Elrond's Council. And then 11. No, we're 34. Whatever. We got plenty. I lost track of what I was doing. So 34 progress, I think, on the quest. And it says if the players defeat the stage, they've won the game. So we just won. We captured Mugash. So each playthrough is a little different. Like I said, this deck really does well. You just have to be careful about lots of locations. It kind of could go either way. You might get too many enemies. You really want to see a mix of locations and enemies. Sometimes, though, man, there's like 12 enemies in staging at the end of the game. There's just a few you don't want to engage. Orc Skirmisher and Mithedros Orc. Any other enemy I think we can choose on our terms to engage and just keep threat from building up for sure. So the Mithedros Orc and Orc Skirmisher. But Orc Hunter's not bad. And so just like I said, I didn't get to show you how great Thor's Key is, but it's so wonderful when at the beginning of the game you keep getting all these search locations and you're like, I don't want to travel there. I don't want to have to search and have to deal with Mugash. Then Thor's Key is your ticket. So that is it. That's the quest. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made sense. It's a little bit of a weird quest with, it's kind of hard to wrap your brain around what the encounter deck's trying to do to you. But, I've won it multiple times in a row, so I feel like the deck works well. And I hope you enjoyed the playthrough and that you'll continue on with me as we finish up. Next video will be the final quest in the Voice of Isengard into Fangorn. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.